Hi, I'm Lauren Locklear, and today I will be talking to you about The Night Lotus by Leif Moore. This piece of artwork is currently on display in the Small Works on Paper exhibit that has been touring the region for the past 24 years. Unfortunately, it was only at the University of Arkansas for a month, and I was unable to make this video before it had already moved to its next location. The Night Lotus was drawn using watercolors. Watercolors are often used because they allow light to reflect from the surface of the paper. Here are two other examples of Chinese watercolor art pieces, and you can tell that the colors appear very vibrant and pleasing to the eye, creating a wash effect. Like other mediums we have discussed in class, like tempera or oil paint, watercolors are defined by the liquid substance in which the pigment is suspended in. In the case of watercolors, the powder pigment is suspended in, you guessed it, water. As discussed before, watercolors appear very vibrant. As you can see in the Night Lotus, the colors are very defined and beautiful. They aren't faded by any means, but the pink and greens practically bounce off the canvas because their color is so rich and vibrant. Also, watercolors allow for a lot of precision and detail, with little evidence of the artist's hand. You can notice in the Night Lotus, as well as the Autumn Song and the Village of Peace, that there's not a whole lot of evidence of brush stroke. It's very clean and precise, and the pinks are very pink and the greens are very green, just like you can see in the Night Lotus as well. It makes the piece appear very tranquil and pleasing to the eye. The beauty of art can be interpreted so many different ways. However, taking an iconographic approach is the way I'm going to look at this. When viewing a blooming flower, one could interpret it as symbolizing opportunity or unseen beauty. However, in the case of the Night Lotus, a blooming flower is placed next to the flower with only one petal on it, as you notice here with the flower next to the flower with one petal on it. In this case, the flower with one petal could symbolize the average woman who feels she has been belittled for being a woman. The blooming flower could symbolize the amount of potential of the woman when given a chance to grow. I didn't mention this before, but I find it very intriguing that Leif Moore uses watercolors because she is originally from China. Watercolors were used in China starting in the 3rd century, and the use of watercolor gives a small insight into her culture. This particular piece uses a very naturalistic and realistic approach. It is obvious that Moore had to use a model in order to depict the amount of detail of the lotus that she did. If you notice, you can see how detailed each petal is, the leaves, the stem. All of the flower is very detailed. This method can be dated back to ancient Greece, specifically the Hellenistic period, when art transitioned from being very stylistic to depicting how things really appeared in nature. This method spread throughout the art world. In China, this has been practiced for a while, specifically in the depiction of nature. Chinese depiction of nature dates all the way back to the Tang Dynasty and continues today. Here, in the leg-biting horse of the Tang Dynasty, you see how you can actually see the muscle in the horse and the very definition in his hooves and the bone structure. And it's very obvious that a model was used here as well to get the way that everything actually looks like in nature. In Chinese culture, the woman is frequently compared to a flower, or nature in general, a theme not only seen in Asia, but worldwide. Moore's depiction of a flower can be seen as a reference to that theme. Despite her Asian heritage, Moore's painting shows Western influences as well. Most specifically, her Night Lotus has chiaroscuro, showing traces of light and dark within the painting. Chiaroscuro was first introduced in the Renaissance and has continued to be practiced. As you can see in Caravaggio's The Calling of St. Matthew, he shows the light coming into the room and how the shadows would be reflected from the light and where the light shines on the people. And though it's not quite as extreme in the Night Lotus, you can still see light up here in the corner and the shadows under the leaves, just showing you where you're supposed to be placing your eye, and which puts most of the focus on the lotus. The use of watercolored and detailed depiction of nature shows that Moore's piece has lots of Oriental influence, most likely credit to her background, and the use of chiaroscuro shows the Western influence. I chose this piece for its simplicity and extreme complexity. At first glance, I just saw a pretty flower, very simple. but when I got closer, I was able to notice the ornate detail and time that went into creating this piece. This lotus is truly breathtaking with its use of watercolor and precision. It really is a beautiful piece.